Imagine preparing for months, or even years, only to open your food supply during an emergency and find it spoiled, infested, or barely edible. It's a nightmare that happens far more often than you'd think, and the worst part is, it's completely avoidable. Most preppers focus on buying bulk, freeze-dried, or long-lasting foods, but overlook the small silent mistakes that quietly destroy stockpiles. One misstep with rotation, storage conditions, or packaging can turn your carefully built pantry into wasted money and effort. Understanding these pitfalls isn't about fear, it's about being smart, realistic, and ready. When it comes to survival, preparation alone isn't enough. Knowing how to store food correctly and avoid common mistakes is what separates a stockpile that lasts from one that fails. Long-term food storage is more than collecting cans, grains, and freeze-dried meals. A stockpile is only as good as the system behind it. Without proper rotation, packaging, and storage, even the most expensive or carefully selected foods can become useless. This is why every prepper must pay attention not just to what they store, but how they store it, where it is stored, and how often it's checked. The truth is, many emergency food supplies fail quietly. The problem isn't always obvious at first. An unopened container of beans or rice might look fine, but exposure to moisture, pests, air, or temperature fluctuations can slowly degrade its quality, nutritional value, and taste. Some mistakes show up immediately, while others take months or years, leaving panicked preppers unprepared when disaster strikes. In this video, we will break down the 5 most critical food storage mistakes that can quietly ruin even the most carefully curated stockpile. You will learn why each mistake matters, what it does to your food supply, and practical strategies to prevent them. From understanding FIFO rotation to selecting the right containers, monitoring storage conditions, and preparing for water and cooking requirements, this guide will give you the tools to maintain a reliable, long-lasting emergency pantry. By the end of this video, you'll know how to build a food stockpile that stays safe, nutritious, and ready for use, even decades into the future. No guesswork, no wasted money, no unnecessary risk, just clear, actionable steps to make sure your pantry truly works when it matters most. Eating what you store. One of the most overlooked mistakes in food storage is thinking of your emergency pantry as a set-it-and-forget-it system. Many preppers buy bulk foods, freeze-dried meals, and canned goods, and then never touch them until disaster strikes. The problem is simple. If you're not used to eating the foods you store, they can become wasted or even harmful when you finally need them. Stockpiling unfamiliar items, such as freeze-dried meals or foods you rarely consume, may seem smart on paper, but in reality, it can create serious problems. Your body may reject certain foods you aren't accustomed to, or you may find them difficult to prepare under stress. Variety is critical. A well-rounded pantry should include foods that are both long-lasting and familiar, allowing you to maintain nutrition while avoiding food fatigue. Beans, rice, pasta, and canned vegetables are staples, but pairing them with items you actually enjoy and know how to cook makes survival meals more manageable. Eating what you store also ensures that your stockpile stays fresh. The old prepper adage, eat what you store and store what you eat, is more than just a catchy phrase. Regularly rotating your food through everyday use keeps it from going stale or expiring unnoticed. By using pantry items in your weekly meals, you naturally rotate the older items forward and replace them with fresh ones. This simple practice prevents situations where an unopened can or bag goes bad just when you need it most. Another key point is practicality. Stockpiled foods should be easy to prepare, even in low-resource situations. Cooking methods and ingredient familiarity play a crucial role here. There's no value in having a pantry full of exotic or complicated meals if they require equipment or water that won't be available in an emergency. Keeping your stock aligned with your everyday eating habits not only preserves the food's integrity, but also builds confidence, ensuring you can rely on it when disaster hits. In short, regularly eating from your stockpile keeps the food fresh, familiar, and functional, while also helping you understand your own dietary preferences and needs. A pantry that isn't integrated into daily life is a pantry waiting to fail. Practicing FIFO, first in, first out. Another critical mistake that quietly ruins food stockpiles is ignoring rotation. Many preppers assume that once food is stored, it will remain good indefinitely. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Even long-term staples have a shelf life, and nutrients can degrade over time. The solution is simple, but often overlooked. FIFO, first in, first out. This system ensures that the oldest food is consumed first, reducing waste, maintaining nutritional value, and keeping the pantry organized. Without FIFO, it's easy for food to sit unnoticed until it's past its prime. Expired items may not just lose flavor, they can become unsafe to eat. Even when foods don't spoil completely, their nutritional value diminishes over time, which is particularly important for items like powdered milk, grains, and canned goods. By rotating items systematically, you ensure that every meal provides the nutrition it's meant to deliver. Implementing FIFO doesn't have to be complicated. Start by arranging pantry items with the earliest expiration dates at the front and the newest at the back. When adding new stock, always place it behind the older items. This creates a natural rotation system that becomes second nature over time. For larger storage, consider dividing bulk items into smaller portions. For example, instead of a single 20-pound bag of beans, divide it into several smaller mylar bags with oxygen absorbers. This way, when one bag is used, the rest remains sealed and protected, maintaining freshness. Visual cues can also help maintain an effective FIFO system. Labeling each container with the purchase or expiration date allows for quick identification. For digital planners, a spreadsheet can track expiration dates and inventory levels, making it easy to plan meals and rotations. Even a simple Sharpie and a sticker on each package can make a huge difference in preventing waste. In essence, FIFO isn't just about organization, it's about survival efficiency. A well-rotated pantry ensures your food stays safe, nutritious, and ready to eat. Without it, even the largest stockpile can quietly fail when it's needed most. Proper packaging and storage techniques. A third mistake that quietly destroys food stockpiles is improper packaging and storage. Even the best foods can fail if they aren't stored in a way that protects them from air, moisture, light, and pests. Oxygen, humidity, and temperature fluctuations are the silent enemies that can cause food to spoil long before its intended shelf life. Staples like grains, beans, powdered milk, and dehydrated foods are particularly vulnerable if not packaged correctly. Using airtight containers is essential. Food-grade buckets, mylar bags, and vacuum-sealed pouches are proven ways to keep air and moisture out. Oxygen absorbers inside mylar bags remove remaining oxygen, creating an environment where bacteria and pests cannot thrive. This extra layer of protection dramatically extends shelf life and preserves flavor and nutrients. Simply leaving food in its original packaging or in plastic grocery bags can lead to moisture absorption, mold growth, or insect infestation over time. Portioning is another critical factor. Storing bulk items in large containers without dividing them into smaller portions increases the risk of spoilage. Once the seal on a large container is broken, all of its contents are exposed to air. By using smaller bags inside a larger bucket, preppers maintain long-term freshness while making it easy to access individual portions without compromising the rest. Temperature control is equally important. Food should be stored in a cool, dark, and dry place, ideally under 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Avoid garages, attics, or areas with extreme temperature swings as heat accelerates nutrient degradation and increases the risk of spoilage. Basements can work well if moisture is controlled with dehumidifiers or sealed storage bins. Even a well-packaged container will fail if stored in a damp, humid, or overly hot environment. Labeling and organization go hand in hand with proper packaging. Clearly mark each container with the contents, date packed, and expiration date. This ensures a smooth rotation system, prevents forgotten items, and allows for quick access during an emergency. For digital record keepers, maintaining a spreadsheet or inventory list with dates and quantities is an effective way to track stock levels and identify what needs to be used first. Choosing the right foods for long-term storage. Selecting the right foods is just as important as how you store them. Even perfectly packaged items won't help if they are prone to spoilage or require frequent replacement. The key is to focus on foods that are shelf-stable, nutrient-dense, and versatile. Staples like rice, beans, wheat, pasta, powdered milk, and dehydrated vegetables are proven winners because they can last decades when stored correctly and provide the calories, protein, and nutrients necessary for survival. It's also critical to consider variety and digestibility. A stockpile composed entirely of beans or rice may meet calorie requirements, but can lead to digestive issues, fatigue, and low morale during extended emergencies. Including a mix of grains, legumes, dried fruits, vegetables, and fats ensures balanced nutrition and keeps meals tolerable. Foods that are familiar and part of your normal diet are preferable because the body is accustomed to digesting them, and you are more likely to actually use and rotate these foods regularly. Don't forget the practicality of preparation. Some foods require water, fuel, or cooking equipment, which may be scarce during an emergency. Items like ready-to-eat canned goods, freeze-dried meals, or shelf-stable nut butters can be consumed without additional resources, making them invaluable during immediate post-disaster situations. By combining long-term staples with practical ready-to-eat options, a food supply becomes flexible, usable, and less prone to waste. Another common mistake is overlooking nutritional balance over time. Vitamins, minerals, and protein can degrade even in stored foods. Including a range of items that collectively provide essential nutrients ensures that the stockpile remains useful in maintaining health throughout an emergency. Consider adding powdered eggs, fortified cereals, or vitamin supplements to round out the diet where necessary. Finally, it's important to match your stockpile to your household size and lifestyle. One person's needs differ from a family's, and activity levels, age, and dietary restrictions all affect how much and what types of food you should store. Carefully calculating daily caloric needs and planning accordingly prevents shortages or unnecessary waste. Monitoring, rotation, and maintaining your stockpile. Even the best planned food storage system can fail if it's not actively monitored and rotated. A stockpile left untouched for years is vulnerable to nutrient loss, spoilage, and pest infestations, which can quietly ruin your emergency supply. The cornerstone of maintaining a reliable pantry is a first in, first out FIFO system. This ensures that older items are used before newer ones, keeping your stock fresh and reducing waste. Labeling each package with the purchase or storage date makes rotation easier and eliminates guesswork during critical moments. Regular inspection of your food supply is equally important. Check for signs of moisture, mold, or bulging cans, as these are clear indicators that food may no longer be safe. Even foods that appear sealed can slowly degrade if exposed to fluctuating temperatures or humidity. Maintaining a controlled environment, cool, dark, and dry, helps prolong shelf life, but active monitoring is the safety net that prevents overlooked spoilage from becoming a crisis. Rotation also helps maintain nutritional value. Vitamins and minerals degrade over time, even in perfectly sealed containers, meaning that consuming items before they reach the end of their ideal storage life is essential. Rotate staple items like rice, beans, and flour into everyday meal preparation, then replenish the stock with fresh purchases. This not only keeps your emergency supply viable, but also ensures you're familiar with cooking and using the foods you've stored. Pest management is another critical component of maintaining a stockpile. Rodents, insects, and other critters can easily infiltrate improperly stored food, especially in long-term storage containers. Using food-grade buckets with airtight lids, keeping Mylar bags inside protective bins, and incorporating natural repellents or traps are effective ways to safeguard your supply. Finally, proper documentation and organization streamline maintenance. A simple inventory spreadsheet or labeling system helps track quantities, expiration dates, and rotation schedules. This makes it easier to spot shortages or items nearing the end of their shelf life, allowing for timely replenishment. By combining careful rotation, routine monitoring, and structured organization, a food stockpile becomes a trustworthy and sustainable resource ready to provide both nutrition and peace of mind in an emergency. Common mistakes that quietly ruin your food stockpile. Even with careful planning, a food stockpile can be compromised by seemingly small mistakes. One of the most frequent errors is improper storage conditions. Heat, humidity, and sunlight can drastically reduce the shelf life of even the best packaged foods. Storing food in a garage, attic, or uninsulated shed may seem convenient, but fluctuating temperatures and moisture create an environment where spoilage, mold, and insect infestations thrive. The solution is simple. Select a cool, dark, dry location inside the home, ideally under 70 degrees Fahrenheit with minimal temperature swings. Another common pitfall is over-reliance on long-term emergency foods while neglecting the foods you regularly eat. A stockpile should not only include freeze-dried or prepackaged emergency meals, but also staples that are part of your daily diet. When the pantry contains unfamiliar foods, it increases the risk of waste and digestive issues during a crisis, while also making rotation harder. Integrating your stored items into everyday meals ensures familiarity, freshness, and efficient use of the stockpile. Failing to repackage bulk items is also a frequent mistake. Large containers of beans, rice, or flour may seem convenient, but once opened, they are exposed to air and pests. Dividing bulk supplies into smaller portions using Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers, then storing those bags inside food-grade buckets, creates a double layer of protection and preserves both freshness and nutrients. This also allows for easier rotation, prevents waste, and keeps your supply organized. Neglecting monitoring and rotation is another critical error. Even sealed containers have a shelf life, and nutrients degrade over time. Without a first-in, first-out FIFO system, older items can spoil or lose nutritional value before they are consumed. Regularly inspecting your stockpile for signs of deterioration and keeping track of expiration dates is essential for maintaining a functional emergency supply. Lastly, ignoring water needs and cooking requirements can silently ruin a food stockpile. Many emergency foods, such as dehydrated or freeze-dried meals, require water for preparation. Failing to account for water access or alternative cooking methods can make otherwise safe foods unusable in a crisis. Stocking sufficient water, understanding cooking requirements, and practicing meal preparation ahead of time are just as important as storing the food itself. By avoiding these common mistakes, a food stockpile becomes more reliable, sustainable, and effective, ensuring that stored foods are actually usable when a disaster strikes. Understanding hidden risks in common foods. Not all food spoils in ways that are immediately obvious. Some items in your pantry may appear fine, but quietly lose quality over time. Beans, grains, and rice can harbor tiny larvae or mold spores that go unnoticed until they infest a container. Powdered fats like powdered milk or butter can absorb moisture from the air and lose flavor, or worse, develop rancidity without any outward sign. Even canned foods aren't completely safe. Corrosion or bulging may develop internally before it's visible from the outside. This is why a well-planned food storage system requires more than just buying and stacking. Regular inspection, proper sealing, and rotation are critical. Ignoring these risks may mean your stockpile looks full but isn't actually usable when disaster strikes. The danger of overstocking. Without planning, buying food in bulk seems like a prepper's dream, but it can quietly backfire if not done strategically. Overstocking without a clear plan for rotation or accessibility can lead to expired products, forgotten items, and wasted money. Imagine a pantry filled with dozens of cans or large sacks of rice, only to discover half of it has passed its peak when it's finally needed. A manageable and realistic approach is key. Instead of buying as much as possible at once, consider scaling purchases over time, keeping smaller, accessible portions ready for rotation, and always having a system that allows you to use older items first. This prevents quietly ruining your stockpile and ensures that each item retains its intended nutrition and usability. Integrating emergency foods into daily life. One of the most common mistakes preppers make is separating emergency food from everyday meals. If stored foods sit untouched for months or years, they may lose flavor, nutrients, or even become unfamiliar in preparation. Using some of your emergency food in regular cooking allows you to maintain freshness, become comfortable with cooking it, and recognize potential issues before a crisis. This approach also helps prevent food fatigue. When a disaster hits, you won't be struggling with items you've never cooked before. By eating what you store and storing what you eat, your pantry becomes a living, functional system rather than a forgotten shelf of supplies. Backup plans and redundancy. Food storage isn't just about having a single, massive stockpile, it's about resilience and redundancy. Emergencies are unpredictable, and having all supplies in one place makes you vulnerable to pests, theft, or environmental damage. Splitting stockpiles between two locations, keeping small bug-out kits, and differentiating short-term and long-term storage ensures you always have access to essentials. Even a minor issue like a broken container or a localized flood in your basement can compromise a portion of your food. By creating redundancy, you reduce risk and make your emergency plan more reliable, giving you confidence that your supplies will survive even unexpected setbacks. Seasonal and environmental considerations. Temperature and humidity can quietly destroy even the most carefully packaged food. Hot summers can accelerate spoilage, while damp winters can introduce mold or pests. Many preppers make the mistake of assuming that sealed containers alone are enough. The reality is that storage location matters just as much. Ideally, food should be kept in cool, dark, and dry locations, and it should be checked periodically throughout the year. Adjusting storage based on seasonal conditions, like moving items away from direct sunlight in summer or elevating them during damp months, can dramatically extend shelf life. Ignoring environmental factors is a silent killer of stockpiles and can mean the difference between a reliable emergency pantry and one that fails when it's needed most. Essential tools and accessories to protect your stockpile. A well-organized food stockpile relies not only on the food itself, but also on the tools and accessories that preserve and protect it. Without the right containers, sealing methods, and labeling systems, even high-quality foods can degrade quickly. One of the most important tools is the Mylar bag. These bags, especially when paired with oxygen absorbers, create an airtight environment that prevents moisture, air, and pests from compromising your food. This combination can extend the shelf life of grains, beans, and other dry goods for decades when done correctly. Food-grade buckets are another essential component. They provide a sturdy outer layer that protects smaller Mylar bags from rodents, pets, and accidental damage. Storing individual portions in bags inside a bucket ensures that even if one bag is accidentally compromised, the rest of the stockpile remains safe. Using airtight lids is critical. Any small gap can allow air or moisture to seep in, undermining the entire storage system. Labeling and organization tools may seem minor, but are vital for efficiency. Clear, legible labels on both bags and buckets make it easy to rotate stock and track expiration dates. Using a spreadsheet or inventory system can further improve rotation management, helping to prevent waste and ensure that older items are used first. QR codes or color-coded labels can also be helpful for quickly locating specific foods, especially as the stockpile grows over time. Other accessories, such as shelves, storage totes, and dividers, help maximize space and maintain order. Elevating food off the floor protects it from potential flooding or leaks, while proper shelving improves airflow and reduces temperature fluctuations. Small items like measuring cups or airtight smaller containers can make daily access and portioning easier without disturbing the larger storage setup. Finally, tools like impulse sealers, heavy-duty scissors, and moisture absorbers add layers of security to your long-term food storage. These simple tools prevent accidental exposure to air or pests, ensuring that your food retains its full nutritional value and remains safe to eat for years to come. With the right combination of food and protective accessories, a stockpile becomes durable, organized, and truly reliable. Oversights that slowly destroy your stockpile. Even the best planned food storage can fail if small, often overlooked habits creep in. One of the most common silent mistakes is neglecting environmental control. A pantry might seem safe, but frequent temperature fluctuations, humidity, or exposure to sunlight can gradually degrade even well-sealed foods. Grains may develop mold, oils can go rancid, and powdered products can clump or lose nutritional value. These changes happen quietly over months or years, often unnoticed until the food is opened. Another subtle but destructive mistake is improper handling during rotation. Every time a container is opened, even briefly, it introduces moisture and air, which slowly compromise the food inside. Over time, repeated exposure, even in small amounts, can reduce shelf life and weaken the overall integrity of the stockpile. This is why portioning food into smaller bags or containers and only opening what is needed is critical. Without it, a single mismanaged container can quietly spoil dozens of pounds of stored food. Ignoring pest prevention is another quiet killer. Rodents, insects, and even household pets can gnaw through packaging or contaminate food without being immediately obvious. A single overlooked hole in a Mylar bag or improperly sealed container can introduce pests that multiply rapidly, silently ruining an entire section of the pantry. Similarly, failure to label and track items may seem harmless, but it leads to food being forgotten and pushed past its optimal use date. Forgotten containers quietly lose freshness and their nutrients degrade without anyone noticing. Finally, the slow erosion of stockpile quality often comes from overlooking food compatibility and storage techniques. Storing moisture-sensitive foods near humid items or mixing strong-smelling foods with neutral ones can gradually ruin flavors and textures. Food stored in plastic that is not food grade can leach chemicals over time. Even small, repeated oversights like these quietly sabotage what was meant to be a reliable emergency supply. This section bridges perfectly with the title, "These aren't dramatic failures that ruin a stockpile overnight. They are quiet, incremental mistakes that many preppers only notice when it's too late." Understanding these habits is essential to maintaining a truly effective and long-lasting emergency pantry. Proactive steps to protect your stockpile. Understanding mistakes is only half the battle. The next step is knowing how to actively prevent them from quietly ruining your food supply. One of the most effective strategies is implementing systematic organization. Clearly label every container with the type of food, the date it was stored, and its expected shelf life. Use a spreadsheet, chart, or even QR codes for quick reference. Regular inspections are also essential. Periodically check containers for signs of spoilage, moisture, or insect activity. This doesn't need to be time-consuming. Just a quick glance at each shelf or bin can prevent small issues from becoming catastrophic. Similarly, ensure that your food supply includes a variety of familiar items so you know exactly how to use them in emergencies. Practicing preparation, cooking, and rationing with the foods you store will prevent confusion and wasted resources during a real disaster. By taking these proactive steps, your food stockpile transitions from a passive collection of supplies into a resilient, long-lasting emergency system. These strategies act as insurance against the silent mistakes that often go unnoticed, ensuring that your stored food remains safe, nutritious, and reliable when you need it most. Proper food storage isn't just about stacking cans or filling shelves, it's about strategy, awareness, and attention to detail. Ignoring hidden risks, overstocking without planning, failing to rotate supplies, storing food in the wrong locations, or not integrating it into everyday meals can quietly destroy a stockpile without anyone noticing. Until it's too late. Now it's time to put this knowledge into action. Check your pantry and ask yourself, are there items quietly degrading? Are older foods being used before they expire? Is every container stored in the right conditions? Share your thoughts and strategies in the comments. What mistakes have you spotted in your own pantry? Which of these tips are you planning to implement first? By discussing and learning from each other, the community becomes stronger and your stockpile becomes more resilient.